Going into key number 3, over specificity. Now, this dives really into the body and not just movement, but really us as human beings. Guys, your body has the ability to move in infinite directions infinitely. Guys, your body is constantly touching infinity. Infinity isn't just some far out there notion out in a far off universe. Infinity is a concept that exists right here now with us human beings. So keeping that in mind, your body is a tool, a mechanism, a structure that we use to maneuver around the external environment, and it helps and aid us to relate to the external environment. So guys, you have the ability to move in infinite directions. But what happens is that because individuals restrict themselves and they set themselves in certain environments, your body adapts to the environment that you have set it within. So, for example, if you are in the environment of sitting on the couch all day looking at a black box, the body will adapt to that environment, meaning that the muscle tissue, your physiology, your internal organs, your psychology, even your spiritual nature your consciousness will shift to that environment. And so you're limiting the body's ability within a tiny scope so that it can survive and maximize the capabilities of you surviving within that environment. Now, the problem with this is that it's a give and a take. So there's sacrifice within this. And so let's say you are a powerlifter, right? Powerlifters, their quotation mark sport only exists within a vertical and horizontal pathway of motion. And so the body will adapt to this. And so the issue with overspecificity is that you do not give the body the ability to express itself in infinite ways. And the issue is that because you don't do this, there are certain muscle tissues, muscle fibers, and there's certain corrective or neurological pathways that don't get activated. And so your body is never able to engage fully as it should be able to. So I realized this when I was doing powerlifting, and I realized that I didn't have a strong enough hip drive, and I didn't have the adequate range of motion within my hips. But in the gym I was training at, I noticed Olympic weightlifters and how they were able to exert more power than I was. And I realized that my body had become so morphed to the movements that I was doing that it couldn't express in any other manner. So when my body needed more muscle tissues or it needed more force exertion, it couldn't recruit the necessary muscle fibers because the body didn't understand how to recruit them, because the body had never been in those ranges of motions before. So I began to do some of the movements of the Olympic weightlifters. I began to do some of the movements of high-level athletes. And what I noticed was that not only in everyday life was I beginning to move and express and behave differently, I also began to see that when I went to those movements, now if there was a discrepancy or if there was an error in my technique, the new pathway of movement that I had worked on, now my body had been trained to recruit those muscle fibers even subconsciously. So now it would aid me. So for max strength, at some point, your technical efficiency is going to diminish the more you get towards max load. And so when the technical efficiency begins to decrease and your movement pathway begins to advert, what will aid you and keep you from either missing a lift or getting injured? And so if other muscles aren't trained or primed or have never been engaged properly, when they begin to be engaged, then we all know what happens. So over specificity, it places you within a box. And if you place your body within a box, when it tries to get out of the box and it tries to break free of the box, you might hurt other things. So you never want to train within a box. Yes, when you engage in your sport, it's like basketball. Basketball players train basketball, but just because they train basketball doesn't mean they're immediately going to be able to step onto a football field. It doesn't mean they'll be immediately able to step onto a baseball field. Baseball players, just because they're good at baseball doesn't mean they're immediately going to be able to hop onto a lacrosse field. So because the body is being trained, and the body, even neurologically, certain movement patterns have been embedded within the subconscious mind, so that when you begin to engage, or your body gets into the environment, now your body's like, oh, we've been here before. I know what's going on. I know what to expect. There is a lowering of fear and a lowering of restriction within the body because your body has been in that environment before. But if your body has never been in a certain environment before, then it begins to get tight and tense, and there's a level of restriction within it. So it's not over specifying. Yes, you want to have specificity. Specificity is very important in training, but you need some variability as well. If there's no variability, then you're placing your body within a box. And then if your body is placed in any environment where it has to express outside of the range of that box, then there is a likelihood that you could end up getting injured and hurt. So moving on to key number 4, a lack of individualization. Guys, within modern fitness, there is a lot of generalization that is going on. For even in science, science can't 100% pinpoint every single human being on the planet. Science doesn't really have any. It has some data and it has some measures for analyzing anomalies, but an anomaly is an anomaly. And so not everyone is an anomaly. Most people fall within the norm, but there are ranges. There are different sides of the scale. So you have to have a certain level of individualization. And so one of the problems within modern fitness is that people subscribe to programs, they subscribe to protocols, but they do not take their unique situation into account and into place. This kind of goes back into key number 1, where a lot of people adhere to fads, but this is a little bit different. This is more so you're subscribing to a thing, but you don't know how to structure it to your unique situation and circumstance. So you see some improvement, you see some gains, but you don't necessarily see the max progress that you would see if it was fully geared towards your situation. So for example, a lot of my clients, when they come to me or when I've worked with people in the past, I like to personalize programs. Now, I would have a skeleton of the program, but for each person, I gear it a little bit different. So for example, let's say you are a bodybuilder, and let's say you've been bodybuilding for years, right? I might subscribe to you 5 sets of 15 reps. And for those 5 sets of 15 reps, you breeze through those 15 reps like it's nothing, but you've been bodybuilding for years. So, but you're saying, man, like the program says 5 sets, 15 reps. Why am I not seeing any progress? Well, it's because based on your unique situation, you need to be doing more reps. So the individualization for you will come. It's like, all right, instead of doing 15 reps, you should probably be doing 20, maybe 25 reps. But for someone who's just coming to the gym, they see those 5 sets, 15 reps, and they're like, dog, that's way too, I'm going to die today. And so they might not even be able to do 15 reps. They might only be able to do 10. So the individualization comes in where, all right, you do 10 reps. And then individualization even goes even further before this. So let's go into sleep. So for me, I cannot function without at least 8 hours of sleep. If I do not get 8 hours of sleep, I will literally be like a zombie the next day. But for someone else, 6 hours I just need 6 hours of sleep and I'm good. Someone else might be, I need 7.5. Or another individual is, man, I need to sleep in pitch black darkness. Next individual is, I need to sleep with like some kind of light on. Some individuals, hey, I need to 15 minutes in the sauna, that's perfect for me. Another individual, man, I got to do like 30 minutes or I don't feel like I even did anything. One individual, hey, 30 seconds in the shower. Next individual, 60 seconds in the shower. So a lot of you individuals, you guys are seeing a lot of these protocols online, on social media, on YouTube, and even within everyday life. And it's for you to take those protocols and then gear it, individualize it for yourself. So once you have